suck really badly at this, but I'd like to welcome everybody at the Oh My Goddess panel. And I'll introduce everybody. First, this is Scott Simpson, and he did K! And next is Juliet Cesario, who did Belle Dandy! And next to her, there's Pamela Weidner, and she did Scold. And of course, Dave Underwood did Daddy Guy. And questions.
Why did he take your microphone away?
Because we don't need
Okay.
We're trying to.
Oh, it's not plugged in. Oh.
The voice of God must project.
Oh, God.
Careful what you wish for.
Does anybody have any questions I'd like to ask? Anything? Anyone? Okay.
Will Juliet sing the egg song?
No, she won't. Everybody tries to. She keeps trying to get me to sing that song.
Any reason why
I
not?
don't even know it as well as you.
She wakes up in cold sweat.
Watch the tape. That's all I got to say.
I'll sing it with you.
I've sung it for posterity.
Take it over.
Who else seen Oh My Goddess? Alan, first of all.
Come on.
Okay, now, how many have seen the dub version?
Yeah, alright. Cool. That's really cool, you guys. And aren't they showing them tomorrow?
They're showing them right now.
Oh, right
they're showing them right now.
Oh, okay. For those of you who haven't seen it. Cool.
Go watch
What are you encouraging us to even have to watch it?
Put it on Tanya.
Oh.
Oh, so those of you who haven't seen it and would like to criticize us later, you're free to leave now. Go check it out and catch up with us later tonight.
Well, does anybody have a favorite episode or a favorite scene
Final
or anything?
episode.
The final episode.
I teared you.
Yeah.
Third episode.
Third
Great.
episode? Good.
It's like when Katie said, "Now, Dandy, will you marry me?"
Yes.
Am I the only one that liked the part where Katie Skull popped out of the bathtub?
And it's a great romance.
That was what I've seen.
I love that part.
Reenactment.
Reenactment?
Reenactment.
Oh, boy.
You What's going on here? We had to fight to keep that word in, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we had to fight to keep pervert in.
Yeah.
So
What were they going to use instead?
you don't even want to know. It was not good. It was just something, sometimes we have to be really careful about the things that we say, because some of these things are watched by children that are 3, 4, 5, whatever. And even though I really feel it's up to the to the parental guidance, they do want us to be very careful on some of these things. So like, because Oh My Goddess was seen by a lot of younger children, but we got away with pervert, so that worked really well. I was happy with it, Joe. I think we'd all done a little bit before, but I know for Scott and I, it was our first time working with Scott Poole, so it feels like that was...
In many ways, it was the first time, yes.
Yes.
In many respects. In terms of creative freedom and involvement of the actors within the creative process, yeah, it was like flying the first time.
I was kind of spoiled. I'd done 3 productions before that one, and so I was already into his groove. I had never known any other way. And then I hear these stories from other actors who worked with other studios who have some horror stories about having 8 or 10 actors grouped around the mic and having to do 4 pages of dialogue, and if one person screws up, they all have to start again. And I just can't imagine how bad that must be. And to be able to see your work seconds after it's done and to tweak it and get it better and better.
It's not a very cost-effective way to work, but creatively, it's,
Yes.
I think anybody would agree, the product that Scott Poole gets at Coastal is worth the extra money that he spends in production.
Definitely. My had worked with other places before where we did an episode, and well, I did my part in an episode in about an hour, and generally an episode with Scott will take us about a month. So I had done other things. I think everybody had done something else. So oh my God, this was not our first. Any other questions? Oh come on. Okay.
Each one of you, what's your favorite work you've done? Oh my gosh, or anything else? Whatever.
I
know you want to say Shine.
For me, I mean, like Shine's was super, super fun, and that was a great one. Crusher Joe was really fun, but oh my goddess, I mean, getting to work together was really special and so rare. And just the characters and the story of it are just so beautiful and unique, I think, because it's, especially once you get into 4 and 5, you know, it's this very spiritual story, and it's just really, it's such beautiful animation, so.
It's remarkably non-violent too, which is something that you both felt more strongly about. And it's not that we're opposed to the more violent and darker stuff. It's just, you know, as far as what we enjoy working on, that's definitely more our cup of tea. So to get to play those parts together and to be able to work on it at home together and to be able to work with a story that's, you know, that's about people trying to solve their problems creatively and resourcefully and non-violently. It's, you know, somebody said the other day about, do you really think dubs are good for the industry as a whole? And I said, well, you know, I think it depends on the story more than anything else. And Goddess is a story that I would love to see translated into every language on the planet because it's such a great story.
Hard to top those characters.
Yeah, we're all better off for having that story presented in our own native tongue.
I love school very, very much, and she certainly is way up there with what I've done. But I think the reason my favorite is still Vampire Princess Mew is because I worked with a studio that is now defunct yet again, so I can say this, who was just in it for the money and nothing else, not for the art, not for the appreciation of it, I mean nothing. And so I always feel like Vampire Princess Mew could have been so much more. I mean, we could have done so much more with her. And the artwork was there, the storyline was there was so much to work with, yet my hands were just tied behind my back because all they wanted to do was, you know, do it and get out. And I mean, I made out like a bandit, but the storyline, the presentation of it really suffered. And so she's very much my favorite. I love the story, I love the character, I loved everything about it. And so I always feel like there's that place where I really would love the opportunity to go back and redo it or continue and show everybody what Vampire, you know, to me what Vampire Princess Mew really is like. And I just feel like it got really, you know, screwed up in the first stuff, and I know it did. So she's my favorite. Vampire Princess Mew is my favorite.
Oh.
God.
Well, I would like to be able to say that Oh My Goddess was my favorite, but and it's not because of the relatively small size of the role, but my favorite. No.
He played God.
I'm not. No, it's just I didn't. There was no real chance to develop any kind of character. You know, you just kind of go with it. God is God. That's pretty much it. So, you know, my favorite would have to be Crusher Joe, which is a damn shame because I know none of you have seen it. But that's okay.
Hey, all right.
God bless each and every one of you. But no, I love Talos. For those of you who haven't seen it, this was my character, Talos.
Provided for us today by the lovely Lawrence Willis.
Oh yes, yes.
Would like to have a wonderfully created airbrush T-shirt. That guy is the guy to go to.
He's awesome.
Just incredible. What a sweetheart. But Talos was a great character.
Well, it was just I had 3 motion pictures to work with and a chance to really just kind of fall in love with the guy. He's the kind of guy that I'd be friends with him.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, he's 320 pounds. He looks really, really mean. The kind of guy that you'd really like to have at your back because you know you would never have to get into a fight. Just having him around, and it was a beautiful character. And I'm really sorry that more people haven't seen it. But for those of you who have, I'm glad. I hope you liked it. That would be my favorite. But if you want to talk about stuff that I like to do, well, that's different. But nobody's asked that yet.
Yeah, Crusher Joe is going to be shown.
Great, we're reviewing that movie for our next newsletter.
Okay.
Cool.
It's going to be put under the microscope.
All right.
Excellent.
It's good to see that one. Yes.
I don't know how this is going to be done or not, but there's a rumor of a second TV series and another movie in Japan. Would you be looking forward to playing that role?
Oh yeah, they're out there. I mean, they have been released in Japan, from what we understand. But yeah, I'd love to work on that. Don't know if that opportunity will come up, but I hope so.
Apparently, there's some question about how the characters are presented in the TV series, and there's some indication that Belle Dandy is only in the first few minutes, kind of in a narrator function.
Has anyone here seen the series, the TV series?
Super good formal, yeah, but it's kind of more an extension of that than the manga.
Yeah, I would love to do School of Again. It's just great.
Feature, we'd love to do that.
Well, Danny thinks a lot.
I think anytime you're invited to reprise a role, unless you're doing like Ernest Goes to Camp or something. Anytime you're asked to do something again, I don't see why you would say no. It's an honor. It really is.
Yeah.
Somebody must have liked it. So.
And we feel very lucky too because you talk about sacred material. We knew that going in too, that it was just that no matter how conscientiously we attempted to do our jobs, there was still going to be a segment of the population that would never be satisfied with it. And we had to go into it understanding that and being okay with that, because otherwise, you're never going to feel confident enough to do your best work. But the way people have responded to it has been so positive for the most part, so supportive, and so we're all really count our blessings where that's concerned, that so many people have gotten behind us so strongly. It was scary. Early on in the first episode, we were all just like, they're going to hunt us down and kill us.
You should have seen some of the stuff on the web pages from the fans. Somebody, are you crazy? You're dubbing Goddess? Are you crazy?
Well, and it's why Robert waited for so long
he was terrified
to do it. And I think that was very wise of him. He knew he didn't have a studio who could handle it, and he didn't farm it out to Coastal right off the bat. He waited until Coastal had come out just slamming that they're under arrest. And based on the reaction that got, the response that got from fans, I think he started to say, well, maybe we could take this
Well, he
chance.
just sold 3 whole sets.
Somebody else asked me if I knew where to find them, and I said, I think I know 3 ladies who got the last 3 sets in the building.
I think one of
They
the
said, do you want subbed or dubbed? And we said, dubbed. Are you crazy?
yeah, I think one of the best slams on school was, and I was trying to remember, because you see the stuff and you go, oh man, I don't know what I could have done any differently to really brought this person into the story. But something about the minute Pamela Weidner just opened her mouth, I wanted to turn the tape on. I was like, oh, ouch, yeah. So yeah, we were under quite a lot of pressure.
It's what's so scary too about acting in film and acting in a recorded medium like this is that as theater actors, the beauty of it is that if you really blow real bad one night, it's gone. It doesn't exist after the curtain comes down. But the idea of recording something or filming something that it exists in perpetuity, for all posterity, that's a very intimidating prospect, especially coming from primarily, as Juliet and I do, from a theater background. That's very frightening, the idea of this is going to be around forever, and future generations will be able to pop in the tape and lambaste you.
Or the laser disc.
Yeah.
It's great.
On the other side of the coin, one of the most fun things I've found is when a friend watches one of your tapes and can't pick you out.
Yeah.
That's very gratifying. It's like, really? You don't know which one I am? Cool. Right.
Which is the beauty of this medium too, is that you're not bounded by some kind of physical limitation that applies to you in theater.
It's a double-edged sword, but it can free you up as an actor.
Sure. Sure. Plus, there's a great height too to all of these characters within this genre. That we compared it to opera on many occasions, just because you had the highs are stratospheric and the lows are labyrinthian, and there's just, you get a range of emotion to play that is, you certainly don't get that in American film, doing made-for-TV movies, It's like, okay, don't smile, don't move, just say your line, and don't do anything with your face, don't inflect, and don't act, don't have a character. It's so restrictive. So you get into the studio and we all just go berserk because it's like Scott says, more. More? Oh, how wonderful. Nobody ever wants more.
Are you all looking for other scripts to do together as a couple?
Always. We just had a wonderful opportunity to work, directed her for the first time in a play that we just did in Wilmington called Translations by an Irish playwright named Brian Friel, who's the greatest living Irish playwright, and I would say arguably one of the greatest living playwrights, period. So to get to work in that capacity was just wonderful, very, very satisfying and great fun. But yeah, we'd love to do more stuff on stage together. And we're hoping actually we just had auditions before we came up here for a movie that both of us feel hopefully pretty confident about. So that would also be very cool to have something like that.
But no scene together.
No scenes together. That ultimately would be
That's so
pretty
rare.
fun too. So it's very rare.
When you all first auditioned for your roles in Goddess, did you all specifically audition for those roles that you got?
Yeah, but I know, like, when we first went in there, because it was the first time I'd ever auditioned at Coastal, and he gave us there was a little clip to watch. So we got very short, from episode 2. No, 2.
Which one was the
It was
motorcycle
the
race?
Oh, the ring. Yeah,
Oh,
in
three.
the
And
first
it's
The ring too, yeah.
So it's a little, maybe 5-minute scene, 3 or 5-minute scene, real short, but it's got all the main characters in there. So first we'd watch it and then kind of pick out who do you want to audition for? Who do you connect with? So we got to pick out, I was like, well, I'm going to audition for the lead, of course. I'm like, let me try. So pick Belle Dandy. And so we each got to kind of pick who we connected with, which is a great way to work, instead of somebody who doesn't know you telling you who you should read for. It's great to be able to watch and pick out your own character. Who do I have a feeling for? And so I know that's how it was when we went in. Was it like that when you went in?
No, I actually auditioned for Earth.
Oh, did you?
I actually auditioned for Earth. And
Did you think that?
I think that's funny. You don't want to know who I auditioned for.
No, I didn't think that my voice was right for any of them. Personally, I didn't. And so I just thought, oh, what the hey, I'm going to try that. I just was having fun. And at the end of my audition, Scott said, why don't you read for, I don't know, Tresco. I'm like, oh, okay.
He's subtle, Scott.
Yeah, he's really subtle.
Very subtle.
But that one, I actually auditioned for her the first time. So.
Well, he wanted me to read for, and the name of the character is escapes me right now. I'm sure you'll know it. Thank you. Dude, awesome. Right. Thank you. Otaki. Okay. So that was who I wanted. Or that was, well, see, Scott also has a way of, by this time we'd already worked together on 3 or 4 features, and he gets to know his actors pretty intimately. He spends a lot of time with you, and in addition to working with you, he's friends with a lot of the people that he works with. So he'll often call you and say, listen, I've got something I really think you'd be great for. So coming in that you're not going to sit and watch synopsis of the film and say, well, I want to try this one, this one, this one. He sometimes has something for you. Well, I read for that one. He thought it was a pretty good read, and I thought it was too. And I wanted a lead, man. I wanted a lead role. I said, I want to read for KG. And he said, okay. He is so polite. He's like, all right, we can do that. Let me cue it up. Now you realize, you remember, right, that the KG is a 19-year-old post-pubescent lad. He says, can you get your voice up there? Can you sound a little bit, more post-pubescent, a little younger. And I said, well, I'll try. And so we did the audition. And he says, okay, playback, which are often words that you dread. And he didn't say anything else, so I'm waiting for the hammer to fall, and it plays back, and I'm just cringing. I'm like, I'm never going to get a 19-year-old lead, ever. And he just looked at me, and I looked at him, I was like, no, okay, all right, I know. And it was kind of a heartbreaker for me at that time, because you look at all the anime that you love, and 65 or 70% of the parts are for them, and of the available male parts, like 60% of them are for younger male voices, 18, 19, 15, 16-year-old boys, young men. And the guys who have that forceful persona, they're tough to get. Because they're juicy parts. That's the good thing about it. They're always good parts, regardless of how many lines they are. But it's tough. And so anyway, Scott said, no, I don't think so. And he called me up a couple days later and he said, Dave, I was just going through the script and I did find somebody who would be perfect. So he had me come in and just read for God, and well, the rest is history. And I became God.
Hallelujah.
It's lonely at the top. Can I get an amen? Amen! Cool. Really cool. All right.
Another question. On average, how long did it take you to film? Like, oh my gosh.
I think probably the first episode is it's 30 minutes long. A comfortable production schedule in Coastal is about a day per running minute. So we were probably in production total per episode for about a month per episode, but each one of us would be going in to the studio once, maybe twice a week for that whole time. So, generally the way Scott works is, he brings somebody in, and early on I think I was in the lead, and then we switch off and we kind of led for a while. So one of us just kind of lays down as far as we can get, and then you bring somebody else in who has major scenes with that actor, and then they follow suit. But then that's going to mean that some of the first actor's lines are going to need to be adjusted and tweaked. So you come back in, and all told, you probably are in the studio 3, maybe 4 sessions for a total of maybe 12, 15, 18 hours. And as you work on a specific series, and as with Goddess, where it was primarily the 4 of us, as you work with your leads and they get more comfortable with your process and they get more comfortable with the characters, then what took 15 hours for the first episode takes 8 hours for the 4th episode. So you're always kind of speeding up as you move through episodes, multiple episodes. So it's probably about 3.5, 4 months total production time for that series, I guess. Yeah, for all 5 of them, about 4 months. 4.5. There's what we come in and do our thing, and Scott may have that much more time in editing afterwards.
Yeah, he's a meticulous man.
Very meticulous.
And he's known to spend 16 or 18 hours a day in the chair. And every one of us here can tell you stories about a 2-word line that took you an hour in the chair because you just couldn't find those 2 words that were perfect, that synced up. You couldn't get the inflection right. You and Scott look at each other through the window. Deep breath, back for a second. Have some water, go to the bathroom, come back, try it again. Because he won't do it if it isn't right. And I think that's, I think that's his genius. He believes that.
He'll burn up his profits.
Yeah.
And bringing actors
He'd
back.
rather break even
Yeah.
or lose money than send out a crappy product, and I think it shows.
You had mentioned that you really enjoyed working together. What are some of your dubbing nightmare stories?
Oh my God.
The worst
Ladies first.
I worked in another studio that the recording booth was, to call it a booth is an exaggeration. It was a recording closet, And it was about 95 degrees in there, and the monitor was about this far from your face, and the microphone had no baffle in front of it, so you're popping peas, and and I was doing a lead role in that show, and it literally took 10 times longer than it should have, and the conditions were just so miserable, and the script was just so miserable, and the direction that we were getting was, it was all being filtered with the producer. One of the producers was in the building, which is prevalent, but a whopping huge mistake, because and Scott just won't allow a producer in the studio when we're in session over there for the very simple reason that, they're not, it's not that they're not creative, it's just that they're not always the best communicators, and so a lot of times, they'll grab the mic away and say, no, you're not getting it, this is just not working, and you need to, and you start talking to an actor like that who's in the hot seat, and you'll just see him clam up and wall off, and that just blew that whole session. So we've all had probably sessions in other places where where the conditions were that atrocious and where the process just wasn't very satisfying.
There was one studio that I had worked for that is also down in front. She wondered why.
You're cursed, man.
That I know that the booth stunk. It was dirty, and that's the one before. And you walked in, and it was absolutely, the conditions were, I went home, I took my clothes off immediately and washed them. That's how filthy the place was. And I never went back again. They called me a couple of times, and I was like, sorry, I'm not working there. And there's a much nicer way, but it stunk, there were spider webs. I mean, unfinished food that had been laying around for a couple of days. And the dust was so bad, every time you opened your mouth to take a breath, to project something, you just didn't know what you were inhaling. And that puts you in cold sweats while you're awake.
I can't top that. I can remember little minor horror stories about the perfect read.
Oh.
When you got it nailed, you were up that morning just honing it. You watched, you watched the scene for a couple minutes. You're on it. You just feel it. You can't wait to get in there and give the read. And you nail it. And it's a good 25 or 30 word line, real tough sync, 3 or 4 pauses in it. And Scott's voice clicks on over the headphones. He says, "Oh damn, didn't have the record button in." I mean, not exactly the end of the world, but it'll definitely throw you off your rhythm. And now he has a camera right under the TV monitor, so you can just look right at it. You don't even have to turn your head to it and just stare at it. I want to know where that was later.
How did each of you get into acting?
Oh.
Now.
That panel was
I don't have that on my sheet.
How did you get into acting? The question is.
Let's see. I was going to boarding school. I was about 9 years old. Went to a Catholic all-boys boarding school in Florida. And it was a neat place. It had stables and orange groves and all kinds of stuff to do, water skiing. But the one thing I really wanted to do, which took very little effort and got me out of all kinds of odious tasks, was the drama club and the choir. So as soon as they had choir auditions, I was like, well, I can do that. So I went and sang. Cool, got a gig. So right off the bat, I'm like, during the Christmas season, of course, being a Catholic school, they would trot us out to the local retirement homes and go, scoping for funds. Look at our cute little kids. And so we had 13 or 14 dates every Christmas season, and they all gave us presents. And I'm like, man, this is great. This is life. I like this. And the drama club was the same thing. He had auditions for the very first play I ever did, which was You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. Now, and it's just to this day, still one of my very favorite plays. If you had to guess, in an all-boys boarding school, Which character do you suppose they cast you? Lucy. Lucy. Very good. Excellent. That's right.
You got some explaining to do.
And so this is the very first acting I've ever done in my life, and I've got to play a girl. And a loud, obnoxious girl. Now, that wasn't the hard part, but I had so much fun. And the very first time that I walked out on stage and they clapped, and they stood up and clapped, I floated for days. I don't think there can be anything in the world to compare to this. They thought that was nuts. They liked it. This is great. And it just kind of led from there. There was a period from, I think I was 14, and other events in family life and things took precedence. I moved a couple of times from different state to different state, and kind of lost the bug for a while. And then when I was a freshman in college, I think I was 17, I got invited to read for Godspell. And did that, and kind of caught the bug again, did some college radio, and started doing some commercials, and so on and so forth. And just recently I got invited to sing for a band, so I hope that works out. We'll see. Hope that answers your question. The long version.
If you do it at retirement home, maybe we'll give you taxes.
I hadn't thought of that.
Have we heard Lucy's voice?
Yeah.
No, I was 8 and a soprano. I could still, no, you'll never hear that again. I could still sing You Light Up My Life in the right key at that age, so. Oh.
Well, I began acting at age 13, and originally started out as extra credit for English in high school. I went down to work props for Barefoot in the Park, which is a Mel Simon production, for my English teacher. And while I was there, I'd been there for a few days, and a gentleman handed me this piece of paper and said, "Here, read this." This big burly man with a beard, just very impressive with the brown Moore cigarettes, and sitting there like this. And okay, so I read it, and he says, "Great, you got the part." And that was how I started, and I began in children's tour shows. And I also played Lucy in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
You lie.
I did not.
You lie.
I did.
Do you still remember the song?
No, oh.
You're a good man, Charlie Brown.
But then there's also, do you know something, Charlie?
I think the way you play the piano is nice. Got caught in a time warp there for a second.
We're back now.
Okay, we're back.
But that's where I began. I did a lot of children's tour shows, and also my first big role, I think, was as Luca, the maid, in Arms of the Man, which is a George Bernard Shaw production, which I played her at 15. And it really, the real reason I stayed in it was because Mr. Cass Stevens, who was the gentleman who handed me the piece of paper, had so much love and so much support and so much belief in me, and I'd never had that growing up. And he just encouraged me so much. And there was a time when I thought I was growing out of it and was going to stop, and he wrote me a beautiful, beautiful letter. And so that's why I'm still in it to this day, because I made him smile. And I want to give as much of that back, whether it be through anime, whether it be through voiceover, whatever. If I can help make someone smile, then man, what else can you ask from your life? You know?
Well, for me,
Who are you in Good Man, Charlie Brown?
actually, it was one of my first big auditions, and I didn't get cast.
Oh.
But
Didn't mean to rub salt on the wound or anything.
I wanted it so bad that I was like, well, I'll do anything. I'll be on the cruise. So they made me like costumer. So I was costumer for it. So it feels that was officially my first show too. And after that, though, man, I said, that's it. And it was because I couldn't sing. Why I didn't get in there. And so after that, I said I started taking voice lessons. And so for a whole year, this was freshman year in high school, I took voice lessons, and then the next year I got cast in Grease as Marty. So that was like my first wonderful.
Excellent.
But I've been doing theater since I was little, just, putting up shows in the backyard and puppet shows for the neighbors and anything you can think of. I had a lot of artists musicals where I was, you know, a little 5-year-old, 10th kid on the left, or, you know. And it wasn't until I got into high school and really decided that it wasn't just something I was doing. It was like, it was after that audition that I decided, you know, I want this. And so I went out and I got that role, and from then on I knew it was what I wanted to do. And after high school, you know, a lot of the kids that I was in drama class with gave it up and went and decided to do something else, and I just stuck with it and have done so ever since.
Sing the egg song.
Linus.
Excellent.
That was my first show.
This is really spooky.
Don't be surprised if it was
Is this a setup?
show. I think so.
There's a lot of schools.
Yeah, and then I followed that up with Edward Albee's Counting the Ways, so, you know, go figure.
Well.
Go figure. But I did, there wasn't a drama program at my high school, but my senior year I started going into Atlanta, and once a week I was studying what more or less amounted to Meisner-esque method, and I did that for about 8 weeks and realized that, you know, I didn't need that much therapy, and nor did I want to continue paying $200 a month to watch other people who did need that much therapy. And so I kind of said, well, maybe this is not my thing after all. But then after that, I got into some classes with a lady whose approach was much more reminiscent of teachers like Viola Spolin, which is more about improv and imaginative-based games and, you know, improv exercises and stuff like that. So that was more to my liking, and more, you know, she wasn't every week trying to get you in touch with your inmost pain or some nonsense or something like that. So I'm going to show my mother my inmost pain, okay? So I know hers. But left the Atlanta scene, got into a BA program, majored in performance, emphasis on classics, a lot of Shakespeare, a lot of Chekhov. Left college, started a performing arts festival up in the mountains of North Georgia. Was co-founder and artistic director of that for about 5 years.
That's where we met.
Which is where Jules and I met. We were doing a production of Henry V, and she was living in New York. We brought her down to play Catherine in Henry V, and I was chorus in that production. And then we did an Irish play by Dion Boucicault called Aaron a Poe, Era of the Kiss, and that was the first time we ever really got to work intimately together, which was very satisfying. And I really fell in love with her watching her within the rehearsal process, and just the admiration for her as an actor and respect for her as a craftsperson. That was, you know, I'd never met anybody, frankly, up to that point who took it all as seriously as I did, and who was as committed to it in a long-term sense as I was. And then to watch her process, and in particular in Henry, I can just really sense memory exercises. I can put myself back into that rehearsal hall with very little effort, and watching her work on that marvelous scene, if you know Henry V, scene between the two French ladies, the princess and her nurse, and the entire scene is in French, and it's a language lesson where Catherine is asking, well, how do you say hand in English, and how do you say fingers and chin, and all this stuff. And it's a scene that comes out of nowhere in the context of the play. You know, suddenly they're like fighting macho testosterone play, and then suddenly these two beautiful women are, comment t'appelles pour la main? It's like, where in the hell does it come from? And just watching them put that scene together, and it's so technical and it's so precise, and it requires such specificity on the part of the actors, and I just thought, my God, beautiful and brilliant, and I must have that. I want that. So then we worked together there on a number of shows, and came down to Wilmington about 5 years ago in pursuit of the almighty SAG card, without which there is no life after about 25. At least there's no dental plan after that anyway, no longer on your parents' insurance. And so we've been working as pursuing film work and doing some theater there, so that's the synopsis.
Any other questions about Oh My Goddess? Anything else you guys want to know?
Favorite lines?
Oh, boy.
From OMG specifically?
Oh, specifically, yeah.
It's so hard because it's such a...
Why don't we start with guys
Such a
that
huge
see
series,
spots?
and I'm like, how do you do this one? I want you to be my girlfriend forever.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Yeah, And in the third episode too, the monologue that Keiichi has talking to School about why Belle means so much to him.
But I need her more than you do.
That whole segment I just think is really cool, really beautiful. And we stuck to stop very closely there because we have tremendous respect for Shin's work as a translator. And he makes our job much easier because it means we're not having to. I mean, Japanese language is extremely idiomatic. It's composed of imagery and phrases that literally translated don't necessarily mean anything in English. And Shin has such a sensitive touch and such a brilliant mind for being able to say, well, in English, the approximate equivalent would be this. And so that's what he gets you to work with.
Like, I think my favorites are the spells, and those were
Word for word. Yeah, the
Shin's
ultimate
translation.
magic circle of warding and all that.
And
It's
then
just
the one in episode 1.
temple renovations.
Oh,
Beautiful,
yeah.
beautiful stuff
Yeah.
there, yeah.
Mine was one that they wouldn't let me keep. The one where Scold and Erd are having the snowball fight, and they're getting aggravated with one another in school. It says, okay, big sister, you're on. And I wanted to say, all right, snow for brains, you're on. But they wouldn't let me keep that one. So they wouldn't let me keep that one.
Fungus head.
Fungus head, just a bit.
Is that what
Fungus
the
head.
Yeah.
That one. I think you get back here, Furlan Freak. That's probably my favorite one. That was Scott. Scott came up with, you get back here, you furry freak. And mine was, your little bug butt is mine. That was mine. So I like that one. It's my favorite.
God doesn't play favorites. Next question.
Actually, Sam, that cry that you made at the beginning of episode 3 when she's chasing the thing, that cry is very similar to Serena from Sailor Moon.
Oh, really? Oh,
We were comparing and we were like, what do you think? Is it on the same decibel level?
Like overlapping the waveforms and checking the beats.
Cool. It was a good cry.
thank you.
What anime character would best describe your personality?
Be truthful.
And saying God doesn't count.
That's so hard because, like, for me, I want to say, I have to say Belle, but, not that I'm a goddess or have special powers or anything like that, but, her compassionate nature, she's so sweet, and she, talks to animals, and I'm like, I could relate to all of that, so that's why I connected with her so quickly. I saw it and loved her, and she's just so sweet and friendly and warm, and I just thought, well, yeah, that's pretty much me. There's a lot of me in there.
Keiichi's a geek with a gorgeous girlfriend, so I guess that's about all I have to say. Enough said.
Gosh, I don't know, you guys. Kind of a mixture of all of them because, I can't do martial arts for anything, but I'm a huge martial arts freak. And if you saw me today, I was going, I got the Jackie Chan t-shirt. So. In Spirit of Wonder, Miss China, she kind of kicks butt when she needs to. I do that when I have to, I guess. I don't really kick butt. I say, let's do it. Sheena is just sort of all over the place. So I do have some of that. I'm very much like that. Yuriko is always just, I'm a huge animal lover. And so Yuriko is always, looking at her chibi. So that will be from Yuriko. And I guess I'm a brat. So school, okay.
Yeah, there's a little bit of, I think, that's in all the characters,
She's really playful.
I think, Doug, I think what you said was just about right on both of you. Is that there has to, if you do it right, there has to be a part of you in each one of your characters. I really believe that. If you don't like your character, it's just not going to be right. It's not going to be real, and which is kind of interesting coming from a guy who plays mostly villains and just generally not nice human beings. But if I had to pick. Were you talking about roles that I've had, or any anime characters at all? I guess I'd like to be more like. I think I'm a little bit like the captain in You're Under Arrest. I like to stand back and watch things develop. I like to be there for people if they need help. I like to make decisions that can make a difference. And I look bitching in a tie. No, scratch that. We'll edit that out later, right? Okay.
Fix it in post.
But that's the best part about loving your characters and loving what you do is that there's a part of Talos is, like I said, he's the kind of guy to be my best friend. A guy that likes to go out and have a few beers, doesn't look for fights, but ain't afraid of one if it happens. Backs his friends up, good, honest, strong, team leans on him. I kind of like that. That's not a bad way to be. But on the other side of the coin, I love being Colonel Dordo. I don't know if anybody's seen Bob, but he was a nasty guy. And
you got kind of a scumbag coming up here. You're about to start.
Yes. I have a really, really great character coming up. He's just a total scumbag, a real bad guy, and I'm really looking forward to it. I've been practicing for it, and I couldn't be able to do that if I didn't have a dark side. We all do. It just gives me the freedom to be able to delve into it, to vent that anger that every one of us feels on a daily basis for little trivial stuff that you'll never be redressed for. You know, if you want to turn it around and use it to your advantage, like the guy who slams the shopping cart into your car door, and you find out half an hour later, and he's long gone. He doesn't care, and you see a big dent in your car door, and it's the rage inside. And it's like, oh God. You forget about it. Well, if you channel it and use it, you can focus that rage. You can use it. I love being bad. It's fun to be bad.
Are there have been rumors, I don't know if it's true or not, but is there an outtake tape for Oh My God?
We have to ask Scott Gould that question.
You heard it here.
We may find out at the outtake.
I don't think he's wrong specifically. The bottom line there is that Scott takes so much time as it is that all of us are pretty self-conscious, I think, in general about, oh yeah, here's a great line. He'll never see this coming. I don't think many people hit him with too many intentionally funny lines because we're all hyper-conscious of how valuable the studio time is. So, I mean, you blow one every now and then. You'll blow one just not intending to, but I don't speak for Dave Underwood, and
then there are the occasions when, perfect example, you're under arrest. Scott had some back spasms. He was in terrible pain. And those of you who have ever had back pain know what I'm talking about. Well, he's forced to sit in this chair in a recording studio 14, 16 hours a day, and he was doing his damnedest to still be civil to the actors and get the job done properly and not scream or yell or just collapse in tears. And we were recording, and it just wasn't clicking for Scott that day. Scott wasn't all there, and that's fine, and it probably wasn't clicking for me either. But either way, I was a little stressed, a little tense. I saw a line coming up that was just begging for something, just anything to be thrown in there, and so I just timed it and waited for him. Just caught him completely flat-footed, and he busted out laughing, and he goes, oh, don't make me laugh, don't make me laugh. And he collapsed on the console, and they had to call paramedics. But that's another story. I could have sworn that story had a funny ending.
Once in a while, you'll see something in your script, or at least I do. I'll see something in my script, and it'll just be so dry and just, like Dave said, just begging. And so you walk into the studio and you're all, yeah, Scott, you okay? Yeah, we're going to get started, okay. And then you just throw it out at him. And you quickly, you turn to the side to watch him through the window. He's just kind of sitting there going,
I was going to say, I get so jealous when you guys pull that off because the 1 or 2 times that I've tried that, that's why I don't even try it anymore.
Oh, now they do.
I'll get silence, it'll be quiet, and then he'll go, okay, do you have anything else? That was supposed to be funny.
Yes, of course I have a real line, Scott. Oh, screening.
I think so.
Outtakes. It's in your schedule book, but don't miss it if you want to be here for the Dub Your Own Anime and the outtakes reel. It should be a blast. It was last year. If you've never seen your own voice come out of a cartoon mouth, you got to try it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Question from the audience?
Anybody? Well, I already asked Juliet and Scott this, but Pam, and do you guys ever read the manga now that you've done the Oh My God series?
Yeah, actually, I've gotten a few comic books and things from my friends or from people that I meet at conventions like you guys, and somebody will send something and they know, oh, you need to check this out. So once in a while I do, although as an actress, I mean, as actors, we're pretty much generally always poor, so we don't get to go out and buy, But we do have a Fanboy Comics now in Williamson, and they're really extremely gracious about letting you come in and just kind of go, oh, this is cool, and so that, they don't like throw me out of the store or anything if I go, I need this. So I get to sometimes, and we don't have a lot of, it's like you guys, we have to do a lot of mail order if we want to get any tapes though, or anything recent stuff. But yeah, we get something once in a while.
I wish the Dark Horse manga translation had been out when we were in production for LNG, because it would have been yet another resource that we could have tapped into.
Well, I remember there was a couple.
There were one or two epic issues were out there.
Yeah, and I remember us talking about that, and it was so different from the videos that it didn't really give us a whole lot of help. But it was nice to see like where the story progressed to while we were still in the beginning. Yeah.
That was a huge comic collector when I was in high school. Thousands and thousands of years.
I just got married at once all the time, and one of my favorite parts was they're talking about this girl who's hanged the skull of the untamable, the untamable temperament. She tamed it with one word by saying that her robot was awesome. So that all happy.
Fujishima Sensei's covers for those are just spectacular too. Just love all of the covers for the manga.
Yes, you sir. You got a question?
Is there an anime character where it's free? What kind of
Very nice.
Does anybody have a question?
Just thousand responses.
That's a joke.
the lead in Crusher Joe? Is he good at all?
It's very difficult to work with.
It was just so bad.
Got a bad reputation in the industry.
That's right. Michael Brady, who did Crusher Joe, standing right in the back of the room.
If Joe were a tree, what tree would he be?
Coconut.
Crusher Joe can't be in mine himself.
Yeah, a little intimate gathering.
Alcohol with the ceiling.
You had said the acting, voice acting, and all that is really hard to get into people. How do you do that?
Well, you can't, as an actor, people ask us a lot, how do you get into voice acting? Or I want to be a voice actor, or, as a profession. And I was like, well, there's no way to really make a real living as an anime voice actor, I'd say. So I think as an actor, you have to be able to do a little bit of everything. So we all do
A little bit of
whatever we have to do as a performer. And you do some TV, you do some commercials, you feel like you get a movie,
Wait some
do a
tables.
play. You used to wait tables
Deliver
a
some
lot.
pizza.
Yeah, you kind of do whatever you have to do to make it work.
Day jobs?
Day jobs.
Should we fess up and cop to day jobs? That we
Mine's a night job, but it's close enough.
Right, you guys do a nice job.
Oh yeah, I'm a music director at a gentleman's club. J. Dave, at your service.
Yeah. We're looking at, my husband and I have a photography studio, so that kind of helps. It allows me to have a fairly flexible schedule in the sense that I can go to an audition when I need to, or I can take the time out to do an anime when I get there.
Me, I usually, if I'm lucky, get to work as a makeup artist. I'm not editing.
And I've recently got into sound engineering. I've worked for a couple of years now for the public radio station in Wilmington, and also have done some work as a production manager at Coastal.
Yes, you again, young man.
I'd like to know what Nick does to close the guy.
Well, there are several methods. It depends. You have to read the crowd. You gauge the demographic. Is it all young, skin-headed boot recruit Marines, or is it the older golf-playing gentlemen businessmen and their business colleagues? And you have to try and vary the music accordingly. And of course, it depends on which particular entertainer is on the stage at a given time. It's all very, very complex. So,
The answer is it's technical.
the answer is generally you get on the microphone and you tell them that tipping is not just a city in China. You know, look into it, basically. And like I said, depending on the crowd, if they're a bunch of young rowdy Marines, well, then you can cuss and swear at them like their drill instructor does, and they fall right in the line. You just have to know your crowd. So.
Does it take y'all a while to get into your character, or is it just instantaneous?
It would depend on the character. I mean, I think there's some characters you're going to play that are just going to be so close to your sort of your natural baseline that, yeah, you can pretty much walk in and you first record, you're off and running. And then if you're doing some kind of major adaptation to your own natural speaking voice, then that might take you 2 or 3 records to get kind of into the frame then. But if you're talking about a character that just is, you know, or you're the Antichrist or something, which maybe you're not personally, then that's the kind of thing that it just varies from day to day. You know, I mean, none of us are machines, and none of us can just kind of turn the KG switch on and do it. So.
I was going to say, if Scott Poole was here, he would say that generally first day records on any show get thrown out.
They're always redone
Come
months later.
later,
It's a write-off.
and you do them once you're in the groove of the character.
Or get Dave to do the Antichrist.
Oh, do the Antichrist voice?
There's some days when, yeah, you're just not connecting with it, you're not feeling it. And that might be like pulling teeth that particular session. Well, we probably all of us have had sessions where Scott finally just went, look, go home. You're not there today, it's not happening today. He's very understanding that those days they happen. So he's never one to beat an actor up over that kind of thing. He's just, look, go home. Let's come back tomorrow when you're fresh at it. And then you come back in, and because he didn't make a big deal out of it, and because he was so understanding about it, you know, you don't skip a beat. You come back in the next day, and bam, you're off and running again. So it's not a science.
He's also a gentle enough soul that well, like he said, he doesn't make you feel badly about it, but he's also an intelligent and perceptive enough director to guide his flock.
Yeah.
Keep an eye, drop a phone call a couple of days before, and so we're still on for Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Just, making sure you're all ready to go. All right, we're going to get 3 good hours in. Nice, gentle, boom.
He also knows when to fight the battle and when to walk away, too. Because I've been in there days when I didn't want to be in there and was doing my best to try to get sent home, and he'd just say, all right, look, we're going to stay here until we get this thing done, so you can, focus in, zero in, let's get this job done. Okay, right, absolutely, So he's smart enough to know the difference between when you're just kind of futzing around and when you're really just not going to hit the mark. So we trust him implicitly, and that's a big part of what makes it possible to do the work we do, because it's a very intimate way to work. I mean, you've got the cans on, you've got the headsets on, and you can see him through a window off to the left, but it's easier to just kind of get lost in the picture and lost in the sound of him speaking inside your head. So it's a very intimate way to work with someone else, this voice that comes inside your mind and guiding you and steering you. And so I think if it was somebody who was less diplomatic or somebody who was less comfortable communicating with actors, then it could be a very difficult experience. But
man, do you have to go potty?
You need to leave, Michael. You're welcome to go in. But what Scott does very well is that not only is he a brilliant engineer, I mean, this is a guy who can wire all this stuff up in the dark, blindfolded, with one hand tied behind his back. He understands the technicalities of his job as a recording engineer. He also understands how to communicate with actors, and believe you me, that is a whole separate ball of wax, man. It's about diplomacy and tact and dealing. I mean, we're temperamental. We are. We're moody and we're temperamental, and you know, that just kind of comes with the job because you're raw. You're just very. I mean, if it's working, your emotions are very raw, and you don't want somebody who's got a lot of walls up and who's very controlled and very reserved. That doesn't make for very good voice acting, especially. But Scott, he knows how to communicate with actors, and he knows how to hit the right button at the right time too. So he makes our jobs much easier. Much.
Michael, you had a question?
No, he doesn't. When are you going to learn? He has that kind of
You guys don't feel worse when he's nice to you, though? Like kids in guilt factor?
Oh, well, sure.
Go home, we'll chill. I haven't had anything
Well,
to do.
But only if you're unprepared and have something to feel
I've
guilty
never
about.
been sent home.
I've
Yeah.
never been sent home.
Oh.
Right? So it's like.
Well, they're
we
goddesses.
did our
They're
work.
infallible.
I can know, like, probably already answered along this. I assume when you get a role or whatever, you're given the original Japanese audience. You can hear how the actors go. Are they called actresses or is it everyone actor?
Either way.
Okay, so you look
Actrons.
Act persons.
Gender neutral performer entertainer.
How do you deal with the actors who are like accepting you to say that isn't the way the character should be done? I know you get a lot during the open when you say it, but how do the normal actors out there, how do you deal with them?
Yeah, it's
Well,
that's the thing.
Like everything you put in comparison.
Yeah, it's like I said with the school comment from earlier. You know, you feel so bad, but you do the best you can. I mean, we're not in front of our VCR for just a half an hour. I mean, we literally spend 6 hours for one scene, just working and reworking, and we try to get everything to fit and to be as entertaining and as close to the original story as we possibly can. I think sometimes where the anger really comes in is because they feel like we're rewriting the script, and it's not that we're rewriting, it's just that some things, when they're translated from Japanese into American, simply don't fit, and a lot of it, the best example that I can give you, just to show you, is in You're Under Arrest. There's a particular episode where a preschool child is talking to a police officer, and that preschool child says, and I quote from the translation, into the officer, that preschooler says, "Do not belittle the masses." Even though that is it's very educated, it's a very wonderful sentence, when you show that to an 8, 9, or 10-year-old in America, they don't get it. They don't get the joke. So I think that's where probably most of the anger comes from. And it's certainly, we never, ever, ever go into a project thinking, oh, we're going to rewrite this and we're going to make this ours. That is not what we do. We simply take it, and we have to make everything neat. The mouth flaps as usual, because sometimes there's a word or two in Japanese and they have 12 mouth flaps. Or sometimes there's a whole sentence when it's translated from Japanese into American and we have 2 mouth flaps. Those are some of the things that we deal with. And so that's why.
It should also be said, and I'm sure everybody knows this, but subtitled version is not an exact translation either. That's just like what we do with the dub. It's somebody's interpretation, adaptation of the Japanese version. So the sub is not literal. That's
There is
not.
no
A lot of people think, well, the subs are it. They're right, and the dubs are so off. And no, they're both adaptations.
Or they don't like it if you said something differently in the English version from what was in the subtitle version.
Right.
Well,
Some
too,
is just
what we
English
found too is
adaptation.
that it's whatever you were exposed to first. If you were really a huge fan of the subtitle before the dub was ever released, then naturally the dub is not going to live up to your expectations. But if you're exposed to the dub initially and then you see the subtitle later on, I think it's easier to view them both as 2 separate entities. And that's what you really have to do, because the bottom line is, in all honesty, dubs are not targeted at the known anime buying audience. What we're trying to do is we're trying to create a product that is going to open this market up so that it's financially viable for these producers to keep bringing titles over. And the sales we've gone from, it was about a $75 million a year industry in the States about 10 years ago to the point where now it's about $150 million a year industry. And that's like tape sales, all producing companies in this country. That's nothing. That's one Hollywood film's budget, let alone profits. So, you know, it's great to look out and see so many people at these conventions and everything, but understand it is a very specific, small market. And to tailor for that specific market is financial suicide. You won't be able to stay in business at that rate. So we have an obligation to try to draw in a larger, broader, wider market. And like with Oh My Goddess, I mean, that's something that's just tailor-made to be run on network television. You know, just made for that format. So the objective was not to be 100% accurate to the subtitle, but rather to try to tell you one where that would exist. So the way it's done there and the way it's done here are radically different. The two industries are radically different.
Cultures are radically
different. Cultures are radically
like
different.
you're asking about the voices. It's like, yeah, we're you know, I mean, the voice actress who originated Belle Dandy is amazing and brilliant, and I'm a completely different person, so no, I can't sound like her. You know, I mean, it's going to be my interpretation of this character. And so I listened to her for hours and hours and hours and hours before I went in. But when I went in the studio, I wasn't purposefully trying to sound like her. I think I was probably, you know, influenced by her, and that maybe if you're lucky, somehow that comes through, and maybe fans will appreciate that or not care. I don't know, but you can't go in with your whole goal in the studio is to sound exactly like this Japanese actor, because you're going to miss all the nuances and the subtleties of this character that you're in there as an actor to feel and make come to life on the screen.
I think we try to be true to the emotional context of the original and understand that, like any good playwright will tell you, the words are the least important part of any play.
There were a couple times I tried to copy her exactly. There's a lot of incidentals where I think you got a couple with school too. Where, I think when Belle first said the tree in episode 4, I was so proud of that because I loved her incidental and I tried to copy it as closely as I could, and I think I got pretty close. So there's moments, yeah, where we're greatly influenced by their work.
Actors always borrow. It's the nature of what you do. You see someone who does something that you love, that you admire, you want to do it. I mean, it's the oldest phrase in the world is imitation. It's a serious form of flattery. That doesn't make it bad. That doesn't make it a bad thing necessarily, just different. And I mean, we can split hairs all the way up and down the line, but the important thing is we do everything in our power to stay true to the original. We want it to come across. We want the story to be the same. If we have to alter the words to make the flow work better or so that the lines... Another good example from You're Under Arrest. I was supposed to tell a joke, a punchline. If you've seen You're Under Arrest, you may remember. The line directly translated from Japanese was, Natsumi was explaining to me why she was late for her first day of work. And she goes into this spiel, like 60 seconds worth, nonstop, yada, 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 yada. And I got to break in and stop her with a wry little joke. And the joke was, let me guess, you ran into Lord Kumon's entourage. One person out there chuckled. So you see the predicament that we're in. So we sat there and pondered that for a week. What joke could we put in there? We came up with 3 or 4 wonderful jokes, and that's another story altogether because the producer made an executive decision, and his choice for the line, which he wrote, was, let me guess, you saw Elvis in a UFO. Yeah, see, now you see that now. I think I brought that up. I think I brought that up because I wanted to distance myself from that line.
But someone in Sweden would know who Elvis is maybe a little bit quicker than him.
Right. Now my choice was, let me guess, you got invited up to Mike Tyson's hotel room. And then Scott and I came up with an alternate version was, let me guess, you got stopped by a car chase with a white Bronco. Or words to that effect. And everyone who heard them thought they were just drop dead hilarious. But Robert said, no, I like the Elvis UFO thing better. So.
Never goes out of
And there again, something else to keep in mind is that doo-doo rolls downhill. And the farther down the hill you are, the more of it you have to get piled under. Higher up the hill you are, the more you can throw. So, we don't make all the decisions we'd like to.
Boy, there's that good point. Is that a lot of times it's not until the final product you bought your boxed copy of it and you pop it in your VCR and comes up on, this is one of my favorite lines coming up here, and then you hear the line that they actually went with. Of the 8 or 9 takes that you gave for that particular line over the course of the month, and you're just dumbfounded at the one that wound up in the final product. You're just like, I had to sneeze the whole time that we're, going into that one or something, whatever. And so that's another thing that's so frightening about this idea of a permanent medium like film or tape is that, ultimately, if you've got 12 lines, interpretations of a line to choose from, it's got to be somebody's job in the process to pick one of them. But bottom line is it's still just an opinion, that person's opinion, the producer or the director, whoever's getting final cut, as to which one is the best one. That's an opinion. And I might go with one that's a completely different line. Another director might walk in and go, oh, no, it's a terrible line. So it's entirely subjective ultimately, and you just kind of have to close your eyes and hope for the best. It can be very, very intimidating.
Any other questions anyone would like to ask?
Yes.
Yeah. Did anyone ever recognize your voice out in public, stop you, ask you for a voice actor?
I wish.
Only at cons. Only at cons. Once in a while, you'll be in for an audition for another anime project or something, and you'll say something, and somebody will go, "Oh, you did it!" And then, of course, you puff up and you go, "Yeah." That's me too. So, I mean, that's the only time.
Let me just say how gratifying it's been, once again, just being here.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't even been in the door to check in 10 minutes yesterday evening before 5 people recognized me from last year. Dave, hey, it's God. Hey, Talos. Hi. I didn't know what to say. It's a beautiful thing, and I thank you all so much for coming. And I also would like to say thank you for the people who have sworn all their lives that all dubs suck. Thank you for the ones who were able to put their bias aside and give it a fair shake. That it might be just possible that there could be a company out there that might make a dub that you could look at without throwing up. Is it just conceivable? Maybe. Those of you who gave it a try and liked it, thank you very much. We're very proud of the work we do, and we hope to win a few more converts as time goes by.
So you could say that all anime is dubbed one way or another.
Indeed.
This is true.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
And if you don't like dubs, by all means, please feel free to raise your hand and speak out too, because we'd like to hear these things. And any.
You guys are the reason we do this.
Yeah.
I mean, that you're the reason that these things get done. So.
Well, that hand went up pretty quick.
But we love it.
That's what I always thought was odd about the Oh My Goddess stuff was, like, I had heard some of the Ranma dubs, I really liked them, they were passable, and then there were just things like, Please Save My Earth, which, on the whole, I just thought was terrible. And then I heard Oh My Goddess, and I was like, this is actually pretty good.
Coming from you, that's high praise.
Yeah, truly. I think a part of what explains that too is the process at Coastal, which is very unique, in that the voice actors have a lot of creative input into. He sends us home with. You were asking about what materials we had to work from, and we do have the original. When a subtitle has already been produced, we're given that as well, and then a stock copy of the script, which is just a line-for-line approximate translation. And those translations can range from, in the case the translations we get from Shin, for example, from Animego, are just terrific. I've seen some translations from some other places where it turns out after the fact we found out that the translator was, get this, not even watching the tapes, sitting there with a copy of the raw script in Japanese and just translating like this. Now, how devoid of context, how could you ever get anything right? And then we sat around wondering why we couldn't make heads or tails out of the stock script for these shows. And then only to find out, well, this is what's going on, actually.
Thank God for Shin.
Yeah, thank heavens for Shin. We don't know what he does. But then Scott gives us the the tapes and these materials, and then we're encouraged to do a lot of homework. We're encouraged to watch line for line, check the stop, listen to what the original actor is doing emotionally, develop our own line that hopefully gets all of the plot information from the stock script in there, that meets the need for lip sync, which is something we take very, very seriously because, again, we're trying to appeal to a broader market. That whenever possible furthers or develops character in some unique way that you hope to bring to it. And so you got all these kind of balls that you're trying to keep in the air, and we come up with 3, 4, have as many alternative lines for each specific line as possible. We come into the studio, Scott will record all of those. He's odds are got 2 or 3 thoughts for that particular line as well. What he winds up with is just a Chinese menu of options. He'll take one from column A and one from column B and cut half of it and stick them together, and he kind of Frankensteins it all together in the final analysis. But to have that kind of creative input and to be actually empowered in a way that you actually have some, input as to what's the syntax, the verbiage that's going to come out of these characters' mouth, and the opportunity to develop character accordingly is and my understanding is, and I haven't worked for many of the studios outside of Wilmington, but any of them. But my understanding is that's a very unique arrangement. That in very few studios is it not where the actors walk in and here's the line, do this line, yeah, that's good, let's move on. So.
I mean, I've worked in studios before where you have to take the subtitled line. You might have done this, I don't know, but where you had to take the subtitled line, which is just like we were saying, a rough translation, trying to get as close as they can, and they'd say, just make it fit. And it's like, well, sometimes the line is twice as long as those little lip flaps, and you just have to say it really, really fast, or, and that's all they wanted you to do. Those are usually, from my experience, the companies that were just in it for the money, not for the art, and they just wanted you to make it fit no matter what you did, and that was really hard because you knew it wasn't going to work. And you see it afterwards, and you're like, well, there's no acting involved because that sucks. And you look at it, and you're just like, if I was watching, I wouldn't understand it.
If you can't deliver the line naturally, you can't act it. That's
so very frustrating. So we're lucky in that sense.
Very lucky. Jason, tell us about it.
Question for the audience. How many of you would like to have them autograph something for you?
Whoa.
We're getting close to 6:30. I'd like to maybe stop so you guys can do autographs before Dave has to run Dave's quiz show.
Great.
You guys are great.
Just a quick word before any of you run off. We are having a little trivia contest tonight. I don't think it's really quite a game show. This has been a kind of spur-of-the-moment thing, but we're just gonna wing that mother. We're gonna give away some prizes. If you know your anime, if you're confident in your ability to answer, please. Oh, we got something to give away now.
We're gonna give away.
What are we giving away?
This wall calendar. I already know what everybody RW wants to say. Very nice. Very nice. And what we're supposed to do? Did you think of a trivia question?
Again?
Oh, okay.
From the dove.
From the dove.
Okay. First, okay. From one of the doves of Oh My Goddess. What was Erd's favorite television show? Who can tell me?
Do you remember?
Okay. Carolina, your hand went up first. What was the name of Erd's favorite television show?
She said the name, but all I heard was the soap opera.
No.
You're right there, but that she did say name.
She doesn't say it's my favorite. She just says, I think blank is on. I think is
It's time to watch blank, blank, blank.
Oh, I know. Wapner, right? Wapner time.
No.
Judge Judy.
Oh, 5 minutes to Wapner.
Okay, next
Okay,
trivia
like that
question.
was a tricky one. We said we went there.
Okay.
Wait, we're only children.
No, it was not a soap opera, if that helps you out. Okay, next one.
What's the answer, though?
Wheel of
Wheel
Fortune.
of Fortune.
That's what I said.
You didn't say it.
You said what Fortune? Yeah.
Well, then you get it. Then you won.
So please stick around. We're going to start that up here in about 10, 15, 20 minutes. Oh, what the hell, whatever. So stick around. Oh, and please don't be shy. Come on up to the table. By the way, if you're admiring these lovely T-shirts, be sure and stop by and see Lawrence Willis in the dealer room. Extreme Air Manga T-shirts. That'll raffle for prizes Lisa and Amanda are giving away. And, what's up, guys?